to go to the website aplusstudents.com. Then you need to select math as your subject. This is a grade 6 maths lesson. Okay. So, and the topic for today is two-dimensional figures. Two-dimensional figures. Okay. I'll give you the chapter number and the lesson number. The chapter number is 30 and the lesson number is 15. The chapter number is 30 and the lesson number is 15, and the name of the topic is parts of a circle. So let's first look at what are the parts of a circle, and then we'll do those. Okay, then we will discuss the questions. Okay, so let's go to maths. Okay, grade 6, chapter 13, lesson number 15. Okay, let's draw a circle and look at different parts of a circle. Okay, let's first have a look, then read questions. Okay, if we have a circle, the distance from the center of the circle to the circumference. Okay, this is the center of the circle, right? This is the center of the circle. The outer ring of the circle is known as the circumference. The distance from the center of the circle to the circumference is always known as the radius. This length is known as the radius. Okay, so we have the radius. Radius can be from the center to any point on the circumference. From the center to any point, this is still the radius. Okay, let's look at what would be if this length goes from one corner of the circle to the other side of the circle, passing through the center. If we have a circle and there's a line that is passing through the center, agreed? We can say we have two radius over here, agreed? We have, this is radius and this is radius, but the total length would be known as, from point A to point B, is known as a diameter, and the diameter is always twice of radius. Agreed? Okay, let's have a look at another option. If we have a line which touches the circle internally, that means if we have a line that is touching the circle internally at any two different distinct points, right? It's not passing through the center. This was the center. It's not passing through the center. It is touching the circle internally at 2 points. I label this point as C and D. Okay. Then this line is known as a chord. Once I'm done explaining, I will draw everything on a single diagram. Okay. Okay. Let's move ahead. Let's see for the next one. If we have a circle, okay, a line, a part or a segment of a circle, right? See, if we consider this circle as a pizza, let's suppose, okay? So a pizza would have certain slices on it. Let's suppose there are 8 slices on it, right? If I would shade one of these slices, okay, this slice of the circle is known as sector. This part of the circle is known as the sector, whereas this length, the outer length from this point to this point, is known as arc length. Okay, so we have looked at 5 options over here. What is a sector? What is the arc length? Sector is a part of a circle, a slice from a circle, right? Let's look at more options over here. We can say if we have a circle, okay, let's make a larger circle. Okay, if we have a circle and we had a sector, the sector is always made from the center of the circle, right? The dot represents the center, okay? If we are drawing a sector over here, if we say we have the radius and we have the radius, this was a sector, right? Ashik, we are discussing what a radius is, what a diameter is. A chord is a line which touches the circle internally at 2 different points, but a chord will never pass through the center, right? A sector is like a slice of a pizza, right? That would be sector, and this outer length would be the arc length. So now if we draw a sector over here, if I say we have a sector, and on this sector, if I draw a chord, okay, we know that these two lengths were the radius and this line was the chord, agreed? Then this remaining part of the circle, this outer part of the circle, is known as a segment. This is known as segment. Okay, do we have an idea what a radius is, what a diameter is, what a center is, what a chord, sector, arc length, and a segment? Okay, so if we have this information with us, let's try drawing everything on a single line, on a single graph. Okay, if we have this circle, okay, we will try to draw the diameter. A diameter is a line that passes through the center of the circle. Agreed? A diameter was a line that passes through the center. This was the center. This was radius. This was radius. The complete length was a diameter. This complete length would be a diameter. Agreed? Furthermore, let's make a sector out of it. If we had the diameter, if we make a sector over here, this entire shape would be a sector. Agreed? If this was the radius and the total length was the diameter. We can draw a chord. We can say if we have a line that touches the circle internally at 2 points, can we say this was the chord? And this area enclosed inside the chord would be, this area will be known as, sorry, let's mark it. This area is known as segment. Okay. And the part of the circle from the circumference, this part of the ring, outer ring, is known as arc length. Okay. So we have looked at a few options. Let's try the question and let's see what does the question, what are the question asking us? Okay. I think it's very simple. The first question that we have is this, and the first question says, which figure shows the center of the circle? If these are the four options given to us, they're asking us which figure would be the center of the circle. Okay. We'll find the center and we will also try to label the remaining values. Okay. So if this was our question number one, which shows the center, we know that this would show the center. Agreed? This is the answer. What about the first option, this one? We know that this would be the diameter. Agreed? Because it passes through the center of the circle and it is touching the opposite ends of the circle. What about this? From there to here, this was known as arc length. We only had to find the center, but we are trying to define all the remaining values, right? And what about the last one? A line that touches the circle internally is known as a chord. Okay. Yes, perfect. The one which I've done in the red, it shows the center, right? Thank you, Ashik. Let's have a look at another example. Okay. Which of these show us an arc? Okay. For the next question, they're asking us which option shows us the arc such that these are the four given options. I'll resize them. Okay. For question number two, they're asking us which figure shows an arc. We know that arc is always the part of the outer length. Okay. So which shape has the part of outer length? Can we say this shape shows the arc? Agreed? Top left. Okay, thank you. Let's label the remaining, even though we don't need them, but we label them for our own convenience. This is passing through the center. This would always be the diameter. This will be the slice, right? So we call this a sector. Okay. And we can say this part and this part shows us the radius, right? Agreed? Let's have a look at another example. For the next question, they're asking us, which figure shows us a sector? Question number three. Which figure shows us the center such that this information is provided to us? This is our question number three. And we need to find the sector. A sector is always a slice, right? So we can say that this is a slice, right? That means this is a sector. Agreed? Bottom right. How about this other ones? A line that touches the circle internally will always be the chord. The line that touches from the center to the circumference is always the radius, right? And this is also the radius. So the sector, yes, perfect. So we remember sector as a shape that's a slice, okay? That is the sector. When I'll give you the questions, I'll label them A, B, C, D, so that it's easier for you to explain, okay? Or this is also known, or one more thing. We can call this as, if this angle is given, we can call this as central angle, okay? Because the sum of the angles of a circle is always 360. So central angle would be, if this was 100, then the remaining angle would be 120, 260, sorry. Let's look at a different question. The next question says, which figure shows a diameter? Just a moment, please. Yes, perfect. Let's have a look at another example. Question number 4. So the next question it says, sorry. For the next question it says, which of these shapes is a diameter? And the definition of the diameter is a line that passes through the center and touches the two extreme ends. So this would be our diameter. Agreed? Yeah, central angle. What about the first option? This is known as arc or arc length. Agreed? The third shape is a line which touches the circle internally, right? So can we say this is a chord? And this line that touches from the center to the circumference is always the radius. So we had to find the diameter. So we label, yes, right top is a diameter. Perfect. Okay. We just have to find the diameter, but what we are trying to do is we are trying to label the remaining values as well. Okay. Okay. Out of these 4 given shapes, they're asking us, yes, thank you, Ashik. They're asking us which of the next shape is a chord. Okay, let's copy. Let's resize. They're asking for question number 5. Which shape is a chord, right? And we know that a chord is a line that touches the circle internally at 2 distinct points. Distinct points means 2 different points, right? So can we say this line was a chord? Agreed? What about this option? The first one, this can be known as an arc or arc length. Arc and arc length are exactly the same thing, right? This has only a dot. That means this is the center. What about this shape which has a shaded region? The shape which has a shaded region is like a slice. Yes, perfect. Okay. The shape which has this is called a sector. A slice is always known as a sector. Okay. Center and sector. So what we are trying to do is, with each question, we are trying to recall some information also. Okay. We are trying to revise everything that's given in the question. Okay. Central angle. For the next one, it says find the which figure shows the central angle. Okay. Rather than finding the central angle, what we'll try to do is first label the remaining. Okay? We'll first try to label everything, and whatever is left will be the central angle. We need to find a center. We know that this is a part of the circumference. So we can say this was the arc. This is just a single dot in the center. That's why we call it the center of a circle. From the center to the circumference is always the radius, right? Then the last option should be a correct answer. That means the angle of a sector is known as central angle. Agreed? Because this has to be an angle. A slice of a pizza has an angle at the center, right? So this angle is known as, because it's talking about the angle and there is an angle marked. So we say the last shape represents the central angle. Okay. Moving ahead for the next question. The next question says, which figure shows a radius? Okay, let's see. For question number 7, they're asking us which shape shows the radius, such that these 4 shapes were given to us. This is question number 7. And we need to find is a radius. A slice is always known as a sector. Agreed? The part of the outer ring of the circle is always known as arc or arc length. A line that passes through the center of the circle, touching the 2 ends of the circle, is always known as the diameter. Then okay, I'll put the letters, right? If this is A, B, C, and D, okay? Ashika, right now I'm explaining everything, right? So I did not put the alphabets there so that I don't want you to answer. We are trying to find everything. We are trying to label everything, and then we are trying to find which one would be the radius, right? But when the questions will come in, I will label. Okay. So in this case, we have to find the radius, and we know that from the center to the circumference would always be the radius. Agreed? So option D is the correct answer. Okay. I will still label for you, okay? So that it's much easier for you to answer. Okay. For the next question, let's say I would change the statement. Just a minute, please. Okay. For the next question, if I say, okay, let's say if this was given to us, I'm changing the chord. I don't want the chord. Okay, let's make it something else other than the chord. Question number 8. Which shows a sector. So if the options were A, B, C, and D, okay? So if you're going to answer, you write 8A, 8B, 8C, or 8D, so that I know specifically which question you are answering, okay? So if we need to find the sector, A sector is like a slice, right? We know that a pizza, when divided into 8 slices, would mean a pizza is divided into 8 sectors, right? If we do half of the pizza, it means 2 sectors. If we make 4 pieces, 4 quarters, that means there are 4 sectors, right? That means 4 slices. So whenever we need to find a sector, we look for the slice. This would be the sector, agreed? Option number C. Perfect. Whereas option number A was arc length. B was not passing through the center, right? So B was a chord. But if I would have a line passing through the center, right? I change option D. It was passing through the center, then option D would be equals to, there's a difference between option B and option D. Why? Because chord does not pass through the center, right? A chord does not pass through the center. And what passes through the center is known as a diameter. Agreed? Okay. Let's try a few more questions. Okay. The next question we have is this. It shows question number 9. The question number 9 states, I'll change the question. Please wait. Do not find the sector. I don't want you to find the sector. Okay. If these two options were given to us. Okay. Which figure shows a central angle? This is question number 9. This is option A, option B, C, and D. A central angle, since the word angle is being used over here, so out of these 4 shapes, which diagram has an angle on it? Angle, in order to draw an angle, we need 2 lines. One line will have 180 degrees on it, right? It's a straight line. But in order to have an angle, we need to have 2 lines. Agreed? But the problem here is that in shape B, it's a line, 2 lines. And shape D also, there are 2 lines. This is the radius. This is the radius. This is the radius. And this is the radius, right? So we have to choose between, A cannot be, because A is a chord. This was the radius. So either option B or option D for question number 9. Agreed? How do we differentiate? Does option B look like a slice? No, it does not, because this side is open. It's not closed. Agreed? But in this shape, this is a closed shape, right? So this looks like a slice. And we know that a slice is always a sector. Agreed? That means we don't want D. And the central angle would be option number B. Do we agree that the central angle is option number B? Okay, just a moment, please. Just a moment. For the next question, they're saying, okay, similar question. I'm reusing the diagrams, but I'll change the question. We don't have to find the sector. Let's find something else. Let's try and find the chord in question number 10. Option A, option B, option C, and option D. So which diagram shows us the chord in question number 10? We know that whenever an angle is marked between two radius, that would always be the central angle, as we did in question number 9, right? This would be a sector, a slice. This should be from the center to the circumference should be the radius. Then a chord should be a line that is touching the circle internally at two distinct points. Question number 10A, Ashik. Right? A is a chord. C is the radius. Agreed? Question number 10. Option A is a chord. Option B is a central angle. Option C is a radius. Whereas option D was a sector. Do we agree? Do we agree on this? Option number A is the answer for question number 10. Okay, let's see what else can we do. Okay, they're asking us, I'll just change the question a bit. Oh, yeah, it's okay. I understand. It's okay. It's just a typing error. Let's change the requirement for question number 11. In question number 11, let's suppose they're asking us to find not the chord, but the diameter. Question number 11, right? They haven't shown us a diameter yet. So let's try to make a diameter. So the first shape, option A, option B, option C, or option D. No problem. We are looking for a diameter. And we know for a diameter that a diameter is a line that touches the circle internally at 2 points. Agreed? So what should be the diameter? See, we know for this option, this is already arc. This was already a slice, that is a sector. So we only have, okay, welcome Yusuf. Yusuf, we are looking at the question that it says, which figure shows us a diameter, okay? We know that an arc is the outer ring, is a part of the outer ring of a circle, okay? A sector is always a slice taken out from a circle. A sector can always be referred to as a slice of pizza. Whenever you're looking at a slice, that would be a sector, okay? Compared to the central angle will have an angle marked on it, right? Let's study. Now we have to see which one is a diameter, option B or option D. Yusuf, can I have the answer? Ashik or Yusuf, can I have the answer, please? Option B and option D look very similar, right? But there is one difference. What is the difference? See, a chord is a line that touches the circle internally at two different points. So if I say this is a line touching the circle internally at two distinct points, right? Agreed? But if I use the same definition, is this also touching the circle internally at 2 points? Yes, your answer is correct, Ashik, option D. But my definition was a chord, look at this, touches the circumference internally at 2 points, right? In this case, it is touching at A and B, or if we say this is touching at C and D, both the options are true, right? A and B is a line. In option B, your answer is correct, but I'm trying to explain you the difference. In option B, the line AB is touching the circle internally at 2 points. In option B, the line CD is also touching the circle internally at 2 points. So how do we differentiate between a chord and a diameter? Your answer is perfectly correct. You are saying option D is the correct answer, right? This is a chord. This is the diameter. Let's look at the definition of diameter, right? We did this for chord. Okay. Let's look this at the same thing for what a diameter would be. A diameter touches the circumference internally at 2 points. So what is the difference between the definition of a chord and a diameter? I wrote the same thing, right? But there is a small difference, and the small difference is passing through the center. Agreed? Perfect. The diameter passes through the center, but a chord does not pass through a center. Or we can also say the diameter is the longest chord. The longest chord has a name that is called a diameter. Thank you, Ashik. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Small differences, but we need to keep those small differences in mind. They can ever ask you what is the difference between chord and a diameter. Just say the diameter passes through. The only difference is that the diameter has to pass through the center. Okay. So let's try some questions from the test. Parts of a circle. Let me go back to the topic. Okay, let's see what options are there. Okay. The question number 1 says, we have, I don't understand. Yes, yes, Ashik, I agree with you. Perfectly, I agree with you. The answer is correct. Right? So let's start off some questions from the test. And I think what they have given us is very random information. No, we don't need these two. We just need these four. Which figure shows an arc such that these four shapes are given to us? Okay, very similar. I'll just label them. This is question number 1. Option A, B, C, and D. Yes, thank you, Ashik. I agree to that. You gave me the correct answer. I was just recalling that. So the other students or the people later who would watch the video, they have a better idea about the difference between diameter and chord. So for question number 1, which figure shows an arc? Which of the four figures shows an arc? Can I have question number 1 answer? Answer to question number 1. Yes, thank you. We know that an arc is a part of the circumference. This is an arc, right? Option A is the correct answer. Thank you. What about question number 2? Which shows us the radius? Perfect. Question number 2. Perfect. We need to find the radius, and we know the definition of radius is, if the options were A, B, C, and D, we know that the radius is always from the center to the circumference. That means option D was correct. A, B, C, and D. For question number 3, they're asking us to find the central angle. The angle has to be between, whenever we need to find the central angle, we look at the shape which has an angle on it. Question number 3, which option should be correct? Question number 3, when we talk about the central angle, we look at which diagram has an angle on it, right? Yes, thank you. Option D is correct. Thank you, Ashik. Let's try one more. Let's try one more question. Okay, yes. Question number 4. This is our question number 4, and they're asking us, Which shape shows the sector? Okay, I'll just label them A, B, C, D so it's convenient to answer. Let's say if this was option A, option B, option C, and option D, and we need to find a sector. We know that sector is an enclosed space. A sector we define as a slice, right? So we say that this was a chord, this was radius, we just did this was central angle. If this is not option A, B, or C, then the slice would be right. This is a piece of slice, and that slice is always known as a sector. Agreed? Okay. Please do try to complete the remaining questions. Very simple questions. We just need to select which diagram refers to the question, what they're asking us in the question. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Best of luck. Have a nice day.